Hey guys, it's me. It's your girl Jasmine Townsend. And what am I here for? The second week of Sunday School Stories. Now, fair warning, this week you might have heard of it because I felt like with this story, we know the story. And for some of us, we know, most of the details about it. But I feel like there's some messages that's in this story that might be hidden. So I wanted to do this story. So this week's story is Noah and his ark. So let's dive in. All right, let's play catch up real quick. Last week, we were talking about Cain and Abel, how Cain, killed his brother Abel, and then God was like, go, which he did. I mean, he was like, yo, this punishment's too hard. If you didn't see the video, I promise it's in the same playlist. But he was like, this punishment's too hard. And lo and behold, God was like, you know what? Can't nobody kill you. I'm gonna put a mark on you. Not a physical mark, just a bad vibe about you to make people not want to kill you so you can live with what you did. And you still gotta go though. You still can't be, dwelling in my presence. So, Cain did, he left. And but, he still had kids, and some of those kids had other kids because his son was named Enoch. Disclaimer, Jasmine and names, especially Old Testament names, it's the reason I give y'all scriptures. So I'm still in chapter 4. So chapter 4, the ending of chapter 4, after the punishment is given, Cain has a son, or Cain's wife technically has the son. His name is Enoch, who had another son named Arad. Now, these may not be, only kids. There might be others. These are just the names that's in the Bible because I guess they're the ones that matter. I don't know. Anyways, Arad had a son named Mahujal, Mehujael. Pronounce that one. Who had Methushael, Methushael, who had Lamech. Lamech was like, if God said if anybody killed Cain, they get 7 times worse. Somebody kills Lamech, it's going to be 77 times worse. So don't do that. Anyways, so we also see Adam and Eve having another son, Seth. Spoiler alert. This is the lineage Jesus comes from, not murdering Cain's. So, moving on. Then, chapter 5 is all about, all of Adam's lineage. And at the end, we get to a man named Noah. I love Noah's story. Me personally, it's one of my favorites. So, of course, this is where our story begins because, he's Adam's like great, 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 great grandson or something like that. Probably some more greats in there. I didn't really write it down. So, our story begins in Genesis chapter 6. So, you begin to see more people born, not all of God. Like not all of them are Christians or Christ-like or whatever you want to call the group of believers that was on the earth, not all of them are like that. So, guess what they were doing? They were having the people of God were having babies with the non people of God. So, God was like, you know what? They're going to do what they're going to do because they're human. Go figure. I'm just going to get rid of them. Because it was at this point, because men were so evil, God was like, I'm starting to regret this human thing. Can you imagine being one of the humans that makes God say, I regret making humans? Hard pass on that one. So at that point, God was like, I'm sorry I made them. Just gonna destroy them all. Just get rid of them. Solve all my problems, anyways. And then he remembered Adam's descendant, Noah. Yeah, this is the part, that most people know. God was like, hey, Noah, I remembered you. Get your wife, get your sons, get two of each animal, build an ark, go on an ark. I'll tell you when to get on. So we did. He listened. He built the ark to what God's measurements told him to build it to. And, tried to tell the people, like, hey guys, it's gonna rain. You might want to get on this ark over here that God told me to build. People were like, hard pass, we're in a drought. It's not gonna rain. We're good. Okay. So fast forward, and this is like chapter 6 now. So fast forward, God was like, okay, Noah, get your family, get the animals, go on a boat. So he did. He took his wife, he took his 3 sons, and he took their wives and then 2 of each animal, female and male. Adults, y'all know the reason why. So then the rain started. Like, there's a bunch of dates or days in the Bible. First, they're like 50 days or 40 days, correction. They're like 40 days past, and then they're like 150 days past. And then I was like, okay, so 190 days past. I didn't really want to misunderstand that and then make an assumption. My thought process is 190 days past, but that's not even a full year. So I'm just going to say some time passed. Now, time passed, and then Noah started sending out 2 birds. The first time he sent out a raven, he sent out a dove. They don't say nothing else about that raven, but the dove flew, came back with nothing. And then Noah was like, okay, she must not have had nowhere to, land and get her being, so she came back. Speaks volumes on the raven though. But 7 days pass, he does it again, this time with just a raven. Just a dove, sorry. And Noah's just like, okay. This time the dove comes back, she has an olive leaf. Just a leaf. And Adam was like, okay, it's drying up out there, because first time she had nothing, this time she has a leaf. 7 more days go by. 3rd trip. 3 times the charm, right? Dove didn't come back. And then sometime after the dove did not come back, God was like, okay, no, y'all can leave. Y'all can get out the ark. Y'all good. We were going crazy having to stay home. Can you imagine having to stay in ark with your kids and their wives? Could you imagine being a kid staying in the ark to avoid death with your parents? Yeah. So, we know, most people know the rest. God promised to never destroy. How did he word it? That God would never curse the ground for man's sake, because he already know we human. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna mess up. And some of us, rephrase, some people, because not me, because I do try to be nice. 95% of the time, I do try, but he already knows this evil, and it's just evil in some people's heart. So he's just like, you know what though? I'm not gonna let them make me destroy the earth again or destroy the grounds again. Cause yeah. And then symbol, rainbow. That's one of the reasons why I love rainbows. But let's dive into these lessons, shall we? Cause when I think of the lessons of Noah's Ark, there's just so many, but just like last week, I'm gonna focus on the 3. Now, the first one, the obvious one. So I'm a titles person. I have 3 lessons. The obvious one, the animal one, the end one. The obvious one. Noah built the ark just because God told him to. They were in a drought, y'all. What he building this big boat for, other than the fact that his God told him to? His God, our God. Some of us, we be like, God, it ain't raining. You think you want to start building the boat when the rain starts? Because you just killed your lineage by waiting. Okay, number 2, the animal one. Let's discuss the dove. Okay. When I think of that dove took 3 trips. 2nd trip, he brought back a leaf. He still came, or she. The Bible says the dove was a she. She took 3 trips. 2nd trip, she came back with the leaf. She still came back because she knew enough. She knew 2 things. One, she knew she couldn't just land on that leaf. She could grab the leaf and pluck it just like she did. She couldn't land. Can't land on a leaf, not no dove. They're too big. She'd be done fell in the water, trying to sit on the leaf. If you need to come back because you ain't got nowhere to land, come on back. Second thing she knew she could come back. Noah did not give, or she did not have the thought that, oh, I left the ark, even though that man told me to leave the ark, or that man opened the window and knew I would fly out. She didn't have that thought process that, oh, I left, now I can't come back. No, no, no. You can always come back. You can always come home. Whatever that home looks like for you, that's for you. Now, third one, the end one. Y'all remember how we was just talking about that dove and how she didn't come back after the third one? Noah didn't leave the ark just because that dove didn't come back. In fact, I'm going to read exactly how they wrote it. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. And in the second month, that means a month went by, y'all. And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, go out of the ark. And that's when he left. Now, verse 12, which was the verse before that I started reading, verse 12 says, so he waited yet another 7 days and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him anymore. So he waited a month after that dove didn't come back. After he saw that the earth was dry, he still waited until God said, okay, y'all, come on out. Some of us think we see something and we know something and we act. I'm not saying it's always a bad thing, but sometimes you might want to wait for that Holy Spirit to whisper in your ear, okay, child, go on and go. And sometimes you might stay in your ark a little bit too long because God be like, go. And you be like, I think I'm going to think about it some more. Don't worry. It's not just you. I do it sometimes too. Sometimes I be thinking when God has already said go. Thinkers get nothing done. Wouldn't you rather do it, potentially fail, and then know you can come back? Because you're always welcome. Okay, guys, that's the story of Noah and the ark. It actually spreads across a few chapters. It starts in chapter 6 and ends in chapter 8. So, looking at the Bible, because chapter 9 is God making a promise to Noah. And chapter 10, it's Noah's descendants, kind of how they did Adam's, except they talk about the nations that do it. So looking ahead, it's looking like the next part that we'll be talking about is the Tower of Babel, because that's Noah's folks. But it might be something different. I don't know. I might put more time into the promises of Noah. I don't know yet. But you guys will find out next week on Sunday School Stories. Bye.